Welcome to CBTS Tech Talk. I'm the producer, Lance Hart. Today, we will be talking about optimizing customer experience with an integrated cloud-based contact center and UC platform. I'm joined by two extremely knowledgeable techs that will be doing a little talking today. Tech Talk, haha, right? That was kind of funny. Was that funny?
I was looking for where they were at. Sorry.
Justin Rice, Chief Solutions Architect, Jon Lloyd, Global Solutions Architect. Justin, the baton is yours.
Yeah, no, thanks, Lance. And Lance, I think we need to get our hands on one of those lights that you have.
Yeah, the cube thing.
The cube, that's amazing.
That was like a mini data center rack.
Yeah, it's that's cool. All right, so here we're going to talk about CX, contact center, unified communications, all together. Going to throw in some AI, all the buzzwords today. Yeah. But really, we're going to make sense of heads or tails of this, and really the industry trends that we see and our customers see moving forward through the rest of 2023 and 2024. Thanks, Lance, for the opening. I'm going to kick us off, John, and then I'd love to get your opinion here. So we hear our customers tell us all the time about their customers and really how they expect this more personalized engagement through whatever modality they choose today, whether that's web, whether that's mobile app, whether that's telephony. They expect this kind of intelligent self-service whenever they're engaging with the business, right? I want to talk through that a little bit, and I want to start with the CX side of the equation. So first off, CX, customer experience. What does that mean to you, John?
So for me, customer experience, and every time I go and talk contact center with clients and organizations, I go through their contact center. I'll call. I want to check their IVR, IVAs. I want to interactive voice, auto attendance, all the things. I want to understand the experience of a customer coming in. To me, that's exactly what customer experience is. What's the experience? What's the emotions that I go through when I conduct and do business? And I'll tell you right out of the gate, the number one thing I see people get wrong, organizations get wrong, is this idea of a one size fits all. Mm-hmm. I may be calling your contact center for wildly different reasons. Maybe it's to buy something. That's great. Maybe it's to complain about something. Maybe it's to get information. I typically see there's a front door. There's some 30 seconds of recordings of telling you don't call us, go online and help yourself before I get to that point. So a lot of opportunity there. To me, the customer, I always put this lens of my contact center, when I build it, it's a blanket statement. I want to assume my customer's calling in with urgency, whether they're upset about something or they really need an answer quickly. And so to me, that is customer experience. How do I feel when I need to do business with you over the phone? And what's that experience like?
Yeah, you're right. So, when I think of customer experience, it really comes down to me is the customer has a choice of the modality and ways they want to interact with your business, right? Yeah. And from a customer experience perspective, when I think of it, it's like, if I am a frequent mobile app user and I have to call in to your telephony through your telephony channel, I would hope that you know who I am, know that I normally don't call, and be able to give me that personalized journey, right? So those are things that we see companies making from a customer experience standpoint that I think are meaningful to the evolution of contact center.
And to your point of not just understanding the modalities I've connected with, but over what period of time and understanding this whole journey, right? We, in general, we are in the era of the most informed buyer. Pick your industry. I don't care what you're selling. Yeah. You have the most informed buyer ever. They're connected with their phones, connected with laptops. So I'm not saying all of the people calling in are clients would be, but certainly there's some expectation that I've tried to self-solve. I've probably gone to your app. I've probably Googled it. I've probably gone to your website. Mm-hmm. So when the first, you can call it the ambush message, is here's a 1.5-minute recording of all the ways you don't need to be calling me right now. Yep. When I'm probably calling you with, again, a little bit of urgency because of the fact that I couldn't self-solve.
Yep. I think we've, over the years, have gotten very used to approaching contact center as tech first, enabled by people, when really it's people first, tech enabled. That's right. You want the experience with the person to be top shelf. The best experience possible, and you want tech to help enable that, not the other way around.
Well, and I think, too, one of the things we'll talk about today is it becomes a math problem. When I build out a contact center, I the more people I have there, the higher skilled they are,
Mhm.
the more it costs me. And so I have to look at what is the average, cost to acquire and support a customer of the widget that I'm selling. So if I'm selling a widget that is from a profitability standpoint, $30 a month per person, and I'm paying somebody $20 an hour to support them and they call in once a month, I've got a really big problem on my hands. And so we'll talk through today, I think, some of how those tools maybe are making it easier to make the decision of, okay, I don't need to sacrifice quality of service to my end customer and choose offshore only or, outsource only, how some of the machine learning and AI and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, I'm a frustrated paying customer and I'm calling in. I always go there first when I build a contact center. I want that customer who's frustrated with us. That's who I want to build this contact center for. And then from there, we expand and try to make life better.
So I want to put you on the spot a little bit on, give me an example of a personalized journey for you, Jon Lloyd. You're calling into a business. What is a journey that you expect to go down as it relates to customer experience?
So my expectation is within a reasonable amount of time, maybe that's 10 seconds, 15 seconds, at least understanding that I'm in the right spot. I totally understand I might sit on hold. I don't mean I'm getting a live body, right? The cost implications of that every time would be insane. But when I call in and I need to come in verified, okay, please enter your social security number. I do that. Now, please enter your banking PIN. I do that. Now, please say these words so we can do voice authentication. Okay, I do that. Then I finally do get to a live body. The first question I ask, can you give me your address and your phone number to verify that? Well, why did I just go through all of that? And it's little things like, what is your background noise when I'm entering that? Can I say it or do I use DTMF tones? Are you picking up the dog barking in the background? And so now I have to start all over again and entering this 9-digit number. So to me, my expectation is whatever I'm doing, I only have to do once. So if I've verified my account via an account number and a PIN, that's the account being verified. Don't get me wrong, I want my data to be safe and all of those things. But if there's the final check, if we're going to do 3 automated things to have a human being do it anyway, skip me those 3. Also, I need the ability, when you go through option 1 for this, 2 for this, right, and you go through all of these and mine's not in there, I've got to be able to zero out and get to an operator. And I understand that may make routing my call longer, but we can't leave people stranded waiting on the right option that doesn't come into play.
Yeah, I think you're right. The example I like to give is if I start my engagement with a brand and I start that engagement via a chatbot, and I'm unhappy with what's happening and I transfer it to a telephony channel, I want a way for those 2 interactions to sync.
Yep.
And I wanted to know my sentiment when I'm calling. So I want them to know as I'm calling in, 1, I started somewhere else. 2, I'm unhappy. 3, I don't normally go through the web. So by the time I get to a real person, that I'm past all of the complicatedness that I've already went through, and I have an easy engagement with that brand.
When I think, like we can talk about, I'll use a personal example. I have to call my bank every month. It has to do with the way that their system doesn't apply a payment the way you would think it would. And so I have to make the payment, and then I have to call them and go, that's not how it's supposed to be applied. So I do this 12 times a year. And every single time I get a different person, obviously, and I have to walk them through. This is what happened. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. You would think they'd be able to just go into the notes and see, okay, yes, once a month, I understand, and be able to apply it. That same concept, what's happening is when I call in, depending on busy hours, sometimes it might be W-2 employees, it might be a third-party outsourced, it might be their employee, but it's offshore and they're using a different system, right? And so really it's the back end, all of these different applications of how I come in, what is my journey, what's my modality of connecting.
Yep.
It's not that they don't want that journey, it's that they're using different ways to meet your needs. To try to be cost effective. It's that math problem thing.
Yep.
So they don't have a way to stitch that journey together.
I do want to get to the math problem because I think that's a very interesting topic, but closely related to CX is the trend that we see around AI, artificial intelligence. Every contact center operator out there says they have AI. In your words, what does AI as it relates to the contact center mean to you?
So there's the right way and wrong way. To me, the wrong way is a chatbot that pretends to be a human that isn't, that simply goes through frequently asked questions and tries to apply its best answer and then go, did this solve your needs? To me, that's a waste of time. That is your AI Googling for me.
Yep.
Right? Now, where AI with things like natural language chat and where we see things going with machine learning and the large language, all of these things, that's a wildly Microsoft Copilot and where that's coming. That is wildly different, because if I can have a conversation with a AI agent that can hear inflection and tone, that can make educated decisions, to be able to give me dynamic answers, to be able to quickly escalate. I mean, think about that concept alone. With an AI agent, if that AI agent can just simply detect frustration or anger out of the pitch of a voice and transfer that to a person, wow, what a story, because 9 out of 10, the AI was able to help. The other 1 or 2, rather than getting insanely upset, was able to get to a person and be helped right away. And I still lowered my cost as, the contact center too. To me, that's the right way of where AI is coming. It's not a self-help, call it, a expedited Googling of frequently asked questions. It's an actual device that can help organizations meet their customers' needs, but then also react dynamically when needed.
Yeah, like specifically, I think if you're watching this, you're probably familiar with ChatGPT. ChatGPT uses a large language model to do its magic, right? And I think what we're seeing in the enterprise and what we will continue to see grow in the enterprise is the use of large language models in the enterprise to load up things like your knowledge base or FAQs, and just loading the large language model with all of this relevant information, and let the AI engine pick it up and feed back to you, the user, all of the relevant information you need without a whole lot of structuring from a human. 1, that lowers your cost, but 2, really helps customize that experience. I think that's what we're going to continue to see. I do think there's still some risk there. PII, security, there are things there that the large language model doesn't necessarily understand yet. But generally, I think that's the way we're going to see AI and contact center develop more.
I think there's 2 key pieces when we talk about that. The first is the consistency of experience. I think everybody has called a contact center, not gotten the answer they wanted, needed, hung up, called back, and gotten something completely different when they talked to somebody else.
Yeah.
It happened to me with a flight. I had a flight get canceled, and I had to rebook it. I called the airline, and the first one I sat on hold for 50 minutes, got hung up on.
Yep.
Disconnected. Called back in. Right there's an opportunity to look at call detail records and say, hey, a call with this number, this Annie disconnected 10 seconds ago, and get me right back into the queue. So that was a miss right there of me having to start back over in the queue.
Yep.
Again, frustrated. My flight got canceled, not my fault. I'm out 50 minutes, missed that opportunity. But now I get through to somebody, we have a conversation, and they couldn't help me. They couldn't get my flight moved. And well, that's frustrating. Call back a third time, and it was the nicest lady in the world, and she had been there longer, and she knew the systems differently, and she got it done and moved, and I got booked.
Yeah.
So again, what if I hadn't called back in? I just got mad when I got hung up on, or I called back in and I got the poor experience and I didn't call back a third time. So with machine learning and the large language platforms and AI, I remove that human element, that human error.
Yep.
It also removes some of the human, when you look at social engineering, I don't want to say the easiest, and I don't want to turn this into a complete security conversation, but social engineering, calling customer service to a live human being who's empathetic on the other side. And we see these simulations all the time. Hey, can you give me my cell phone account number? Well, no, and you play the baby screaming noise in the background, and then, I'm sorry, I've got the kids, right? You can create a very relatable, empathetic moment to a live agent that isn't going to happen to AI. So I think there's some benefit there as well.
Okay, great. So the next thing I want to talk about, one, I agree with everything you just said, and even back to the whole point of the large language processor or large language models is sometimes, because I want to get to the math problem next, sometimes what I've seen is kind of new and evolving is the ability to take something like a ChatGPT, feed it all of your knowledge-based information and say, hey, listen, I'm not ready for the full AI experience yet, but take my information. Here's all of my trouble tickets from the last 2 years. Build me FAQs for that. Let me take those FAQs now, load that into an NLP engine. Let me do that as a way to start the AI process, but put a barrier between true AI and the contact center. And that's the way to remove cost, right? But I do want to get your take on, explain to me, we were talking before the show, on the math problem that you see in the contact center.
Yeah, so we're kind of opened up. Again, there's some cost to acquire a customer. There's some cost to support that customer. And we need to look at what does it take, meaning I make X amount of dollars a month. If the customer doesn't call me, if they call me one time, what does that do to my margin? If they call me twice, am I upside down and not profitable? So while I don't think there's a business out there that doesn't want to deliver the world's best experience, it's wildly different when, call it your ARPU, your average customer spending $30, $40 a month on a, say a cell phone line.
Yeah.
How many times if I'm paying somebody $20 an hour and you call into support before I don't make money on you for, not to mention I probably have seeded you a $2,000 phone and have 20 months to break even. So that's where, it is really a math problem of how do I take, whether that's offshoring or outsourcing or reducing my hours that I'm open. And I think to your point, AI certainly helps that. Mm-hmm. Imagine being able to support customers at really no additional cost per call, and do so effectively and without them getting frustrated, but also correlating data, right? When you start to look at and then can ingest from your ITSM tool, what is your root cause? We've got all these tickets, right? So when you understand better why people are calling, you can stop them from calling, right? You can solve the problem before it exists. And that's just we're talking about AI as far as robots, really, robots talking to people. There's also a lot with like workforce optimization and workforce management, other tools in these CX platforms that help you optimize your existing bodies, right? Mm-hmm. Making sure, whether it be skill rating to get the best agent answering the call when available, or understanding for coaching opportunities when a call goes south, analyzing why it is and presenting that to a supervisor. So there's AI that helps us upskill our existing staff as well. This is not a complete body replacement that we're talking about, but that is certainly where I say that the frontier, as you look at Gartner in 2023 and 2024, the big change in CX is really that's going to be acceptable.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right. Let's shift gears a little bit. The last time we spoke, we spent a lot of time talking about Microsoft Teams in a previous segment that we did. One thing we focus on is there's not this kind of one-size-fits-all solution for a lot of technologies today. It's kind of taking the best of breed of multiple technologies, bringing them together for a complete solution. So let's talk through where's Microsoft's place in the contact center world. And let me seed you with a thought. I know Microsoft has the ability to build your own chatbots, build your own AI infrastructure on top of the communications platform. But what we see a lot of times is this ask to integrate Microsoft Teams with someone like a NICE inContact, a Genesys 5.9, et cetera. Where do you see the world going?
So there's kind of two answers to that. We'll focus on the answer that's really around the end user experience. Yep. There's a technical experience as well, as far as like a SIP trunk built between, where you don't need a bring your own carrier in the middle. We personally here, CBTS, we bring a lot of value we are trunk to Genesys. We are trunk to 5.9. We are trunk to Cisco. We are, we're working with TalkDesk right now, right? We're trunk to Twilio, right? Like that, there's a real value in bring your own carrier, connecting your on-prem communication and your cloud-based contact center.
Yep.
So there's some market data you'll see out there and some collateral around Microsoft's integration in that sense. We believe that we bring a value beyond that. On the user experience, a couple of things. The first, and we've talked through these Microsoft use cases, centralizing my hub, giving me my Teams interface as an employee, then that's my personal phone for work, that's my application engine, search engine. So one is integrating right into that. My pick 5.9, right? They're a great partner of ours. Taking the 5.9 soft client and having the dialer, having that piece integrated into Microsoft Teams as an app, as a widget. Integration into my Dynamics, my ERP. Yeah. We talked about this concept of kind of creating that journey regardless of the modality that you come through. And I think Microsoft as a hub allows us to stitch a lot of those things together,
think so too.
right?
Yeah.
What we call search as a service. How do I take Microsoft Teams and I plug it into, obviously, Dynamics? That's the easy one. But what if you're using Salesforce over here or you're using SAP over there? Like that integration, taking some Power Apps, taking the control hub of Microsoft and creating that single end user experience. And then the big thing, what do we keep talking about? You said ChatGPT. We keep talking about large language models, LLM, which ChatGPT is. Copilot, right? Which
Yep.
at some point I think Microsoft will actually bring out, right? Someday. That concept that's theirs, right? It's OpenAI, the company they bought, and it really is about this idea of a artificial chatbot being a live human face that can be this interactive. So I think Microsoft plays a huge role between Copilot technology, a central hub to integrate not only applications, but different systems throughout your organization. And then being cloud-based and federated. Imagine a world where you've got an outsourced partner taking some of your calls, but they can still share data back and forth. So I think Microsoft plays a huge role in making the user experience seamless.
I couldn't say it any better. I think the hub idea is the hub concept is a great concept. You know, you think of Microsoft being in the middle there, Microsoft Teams being in the middle. And like you said, you have Dynamics out here, you have your Active Directory out here, you have a contact center provider. That being the central hub makes a ton of sense. And at the end of the day, it helps with the experience of the end user or the customer who's interfacing with that app every single day.
And we didn't hit on too much video, right?
Yeah.
So the ability to, from a chat online, from a phone call, be able to share a link and pop in. That's a big change because pre-2020, when everyone went to work from home and everybody downloaded Teams or Zoom or something, right? There wasn't a huge amount of adoption, for call it personal room space.
Right. Yeah.
Now we're comfortable with it with telehealth. We're comfortable with it from COVID work from home days. You add in the Copilot layer on top of it, and all of a sudden, I've got the ability not just to speak to a live agent, but to do so on video. There's a car rental place. They do this one-to-many, and I don't want to say names, but when you go to rent a car, rather than like waiting at the counter in line, there's a phone bank, and you pick up the phone, and it connects you to a video agent. So like you'll land at the airport at 11 o'clock at night. They don't have to staff it.
Yeah,
They've closed,
right.
and they'll give you a code to a lockbox to get your key. And so this is a person literally just sitting at their house, but they can support, airport in Boston and Hawaii at the same time. The phone rings, they know where the airport's coming, and it's all on video. So you have the camera, they can see you, you can see them. They can give you instructions of where to go through the airport. So I think the idea of video as a use case, Microsoft plays a big role in that as well.
Man, I tell you, like the thing I said earlier about people first, tech enabled, like that's mutually beneficial for you, the customer, for the company running the product or service. That just seems like such a mutually beneficial arrangement. It's good for everybody.
Yeah, banks are doing it too. Video tellers, like go into an ATM. I have this frictionless transaction. I can go to the ATM and take out money. But if I want to talk to somebody live, I can press a button and they pop up there on the screen. So I think that's not necessarily something new, but I think will become more and more about how we try to deliver a customer experience that's maybe repeatable, predictable, and automated. We'll have to have some level of escalation point. And that escalation point can't be start back at the beginning. That's I think the key is like, I've jumped through all of your hoops. I've talked to all of your AI robots. Now I finally am getting to a person and I'm back at square one. That can't be it. It's got to be, hey, we understand everything you've shared with us and we're ready to help you now with a live person or on live video, if not voice.
So it sounds like, at least with the CBTS, we have thousands of customers, right? It sounds like as we embark on the second half of this year, three things ring true. Customer experience is going to continue to evolve, but be top of mind 1,000%. AI is going to be more prevalent as each month goes by, and Microsoft Teams is likely to be a hub for your user experience as we continue to move forward.
And I would tell you there's a fourth that nobody talks about because it's not as attractive out in the Gartner analyst. There's a massive gap. There's not everybody's enterprise. And so you basically go and talk to customers and it's like, well, do you want a hunt group or
that's true.
Do you want a contact center that's $400 a month per agent
Yep.
and it does all of these things, and they're sitting there, oh, I don't need all of that, right? And I think that one, AI removes some of that equation as well, but also it comes back to just understanding your contact center is not one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
You need take a pharmacy. I need a wildly different contact center experience for somebody calling to check on store hours than I do somebody calling to check if their prescription's ready.
Yep.
Like my store hours, I integrate into Google, and boom, I've got it.
Mm-hmm.
Prescription, I've got to integrate into a lot of different things, and I've got.
Yep.
So I think that's another key point is building the contact center that makes sense for the use case and understanding there is this gap of really basic call center all the way up to enterprise contact center. And you're starting to see, we have our own platform called CX Sync that helps fill that gap. You see some other ones out there like the Talk Desks of the world that are a little bit more focused on, call it a mid-market, understanding not everybody's the giant airline getting 1 million phone calls an hour because their flights have been delayed because of weather, right? And I think that's a piece we help customers with a lot is how do we use Microsoft? How do we use AI? How do we close those gaps, understanding not everybody's
because it's not
enterprise.
One size fits all.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm going to jump in. I got a couple questions that came in. One is, what is the normal time frame for an integration between CCaaS and UCaaS? And is it a quick and easy process, or could you give us a little bit of overview about that?
I'll let you answer that one.
The good news is it's far easier now than ever before because they really are two separate technologies.
Yep.
Whereas in the past, I used to have my on-prem and I would have my call recording module plugged in, trunk side or station side, had to be part of the PBX. And I had, the calls were coming to a physical phone. Life's a lot easier now. Most things are your cloud-based, whether it's 5.9s, Genesis, GX Sync, you pick it, right? So I'm a WebRTC, over the web application. I can do it from a soft phone. I can log in with whatever phone number I want. So that's the first piece is it's much easier to get me connected because anywhere I got a 10-digit number, I log into the web application and that's where the call's coming in. I would say timeline is much more about, it's no longer answer the phone when it rings. You need a skill set to really help people get onboarded. So we typically will do that contact center by contact center. Maybe think retail, maybe your store operations, maybe your e-commerce, maybe your loss prevention. You may have all these different contact centers. So really focusing on them. It's typically, a training period, 2 weeks, and then maybe 2 weeks to kind of get your feet under you. The other is with AI, machine learning, the more time, the smarter it gets. Minimum 30 days, but things like workforce optimization, things like AI chatbots, you're not going to put them in and they're going to be experts day one. So I always say, understand the first 30 days are pretty dumb. 6 months is probably where they're really, really, really humming. But the short answer is getting them up and running, disconnected from your UCaaS environment is easier today than it's ever been. But there is a much steeper learning curve for your agents because there's just more widgets and tools and bells and whistles.
Yep.
Yeah. So the other question that came in, and can you integrate without completely shutting down your current system or maybe without the impact of business?
So again, it kind of comes back to routing those calls and understanding what's getting plugged into. From a standpoint of getting the call routed to a new contact center, very, very, very easy. But then what? Meaning, let's take a hospital. What is the function? And I might be in multiple contact centers. I'm skilled as a 10 in scheduling, and I'm skilled as a 1 in accounts payable, right? That's really the piece, the bigger gap is understanding, and this is what I was talking about earlier in CBTS and our ability, we try to be the traffic cop in the sky where we've got trunking.
That's right. Yep.
I trunk to your Prem, I trunk to Microsoft, I trunk to Webex Calling, right? Whatever your platform is, I've got trunking to it, and then I trunk to your contact center. So it allows me to do a SIP refer and move that traffic back and forth without sending it back over open internet and things like that. So that's the bigger piece is how integrated, I hate to answer a question with a question, but how many contact centers do you have and what's the cross functionality between them?
Yeah.
If they're very standalone, not a problem. That very rarely happens. Economies of scale, it makes sense to have me in multiple contact centers.
Or are you a 24/7 shop,
right.
or do you have a 24/7 IVR?
And do you have a third party, right?
Right.
I staff at 8 to 8. I still take calls after that. Like, if you ever watch late night TV and you, the law firms that it's if you were injured in an accident, call me at 2 a.m. We're 24/7. I highly doubt they've got a person, really sitting there, and that's a third party. So there's other complication that goes into that, but the short answer is understanding how they intertwine.
Well, yeah, and the traffic cop in the sky is such a valuable thing that we do that I think sometimes we probably take for granted. But one large retail customer that we have, they wanted to slowly move their IVR over. Being a traffic cop in the sky, we said, all right, let's move 5% of the calls, 10%, 25%, 50%, 100%. So we were able to streamline that transition without impacting operations by slowly moving stuff over to the new experience.
And also, it helps from a DR standpoint. We have some policies in place. We have a large healthcare organization, and we trunk to their contact center, and we have what we call break the glass in place. That it's one of those things. People, it's not like the cloud goes down more than your data center does, right? These are hardened data center facilities, and organizations that probably spend more in data center than most companies do. But there's when yours went down, it only affected you. Now, when a cloud goes down, it affects a bunch of people. Everybody. And so, AWS had an outage 2 weeks ago, and that got all over the place. I think Microsoft had one. I mean, these things happen. It just is. I feel like it's exacerbated now. Like, people feel it more and go, "Oh, I should have never gone to." You could add an outage in your data center. You could have a route get looped. But I think that's another key component of what the value we bring is kind of building these break the glass scenarios of, if I can't get to my contact cloud center provider, I can still get to CBTS and we can get that call somewhere else.
That's right. Yep.
And that was the last question I had. All I was going to say earlier, I was going to make a joke about, I was hoping the guy with the boxing gloves that's on the billboards all the time, I really hope he's sitting by the phone at like 4 a.m.
The one phone number to call?
Yeah.
I know their SIP provider.
Yeah, I have the tune in my head. All right, Lance, I can't get over your blue box there. That's fantastic.
It makes lights up when you talk too, so I'll stop talking. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, it'll do it for us.
Nice.
It does.
I like it. All right, listen, we are about at time. I'm going to give a closing remark, and then we'll pause one more time for any other questions that are going to come through. At the end of the day, to kind of restate how we started this, our customers are telling us, and their customers are telling them, their end user customers are saying, listen, I want to have a personalized experience. It starts with CX. We know that AI is going to take over. We know that AI is going to play a meaningful role in the future of contact center, but it's all going to start with CX. What do you think?
Completely agree. And I think CX is, I don't want to say it's easy. There's constraints, but it, in a way, is easy. When you try to troubleshoot network issues, right? The average person just goes, it's slow. They don't know why it's slow. You're not a network engineer, right? You just go, it's slow. You can get real-time feedback, and not after I've called in and went through all of your hoops and didn't get the help I want, to then stay on the line to answer 3 questions. You can mimic your customer anytime you want. I do it every time I go and talk to an organization. I call their auto attendants. I call their contact centers. I go through, I don't talk to their people. I don't want to waste their time, but I go through the options and what are those hoops and what are the challenges of how I get there. You can stress test yourself anytime you want. And I just think that's such a big miss when I go and talk with customers about what is your contact center experience like today. They're immediately going to go to, well, we have this many agents and we use this tool and this is the supervisor and we do whispers and we do monitors, and they're going to talk about it from their side. Sit on the customer side. It's easy.
We're all consumers.
Yeah,
we all are consumers. We all have an opinion on how we interact with the business. And sometimes I think we forget that.
Yeah. Sit on the other side. I think about it of, what would you do if, your CEO called your contact center? Would you be happy with that experience? Would you be happy with him or her coming to you and saying, hey, I called the contact center, experience what it was like as a customer. You're doing a great job. Or, nah, you probably don't want them calling that number, right? So to me, that it does start with CX. I just think it's sit on the other side of the table. So many people miss that point.
All right, Lance, anything else come through?
No.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Awesome. Well, Lance, as always, thank you for producing our show.
Lance.
Jon, thank you for being here today, and we will talk next time.
Thanks, and everybody take care. Take care.